Okay, thank you. Let me start. Good morning, everyone. First of all, you can hear me, right? Perfect. First of all, good morning, everyone. With respect to Her Excellency Neo Chantana and Dr. In Chani, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Deniz Güven, CEO of Mox Bank in Hong Kong. Thank you for inviting me and giving this privilege, to speak at this event held in Cambodia. I think, huge congrats go to National Bank of Cambodia, Association Banks in Cambodia, and the Cambodian Association of Finance and Technology to all these, developments, happening, on the FinTech side, in Cambodia. I wish, I could be there, with you physically, face to face. Unfortunately, COVID pandemic, doesn't allow us, to travel. And I wish, I can do that, face to face, next year in Cambodia. I want to, start, with my background, very quickly. Right now, CEO of Mox Bank. We are an e-bank in Hong Kong. Almost, 2 months, in Hong Kong. Before that, I've been in banking, more than 20 years. I worked for, different banks like, HSBC, BBVA. Before Mox Bank, I was part of, Standard Chartered. I'm still part of, Standard Chartered Group. I built, two digital banks or challenger banks, however you want to call it, in the 2 different continents. This is my, second one. And honestly, we learn a lot of things, from, this one. Our journey in Mox Bank, we started almost, 2 years ago, a bit more than, 2 years ago. It was 2017, end of 2017, HKMA, Hong Kong Money Authority, they announced this, virtual banking licenses first. And, we started to, work on it as a bank. The most important thing was, for us, to understand, what were the, pain points, for Hong Kong people, in banking. We did an ethnographic research, to understand, the daily needs of the customers and understand the real pain points and creating a service-led bank instead of a product-led bank in Hong Kong. We built this bank in almost, 530 days. And as I said, pandemic, I think, we spent more than 190 days of this, more than 500 days, at home, and we delivered the bank, from home. It was a really interesting experience. I'm also, talking, from an hotel right now because I'm in quarantine. I traveled from Europe to here. I'm in Hong Kong, but as you can see, life is changing, very rapidly, and there are a lot of different things happening around us. And of course, when I look at different things and the customer behaviors, I can give one example, from Hong Kong, which is really, really interesting because starting from pandemic, especially this year, what we saw, there are more than 600,000 people in Hong Kong, which means almost 10% of the population. They had never done any e-commerce transactions before, but they started to do e-commerce transactions, or they started to buy purchase some things digitally. I think this is a huge transformation, and we always we have been talking about digital transformation, but I think pandemic triggered something real on our side. When I look at trends and everything, I want to give examples from Mox Bank. We are a new bank, but we built something from scratch. We built the technology from scratch, but of course there are a lot of different items around this bank. Most of the people they ask me, Deniz, what is it about? How do you build a bank? Is it only technology or something? Or they are talking about these different definitions and terminologies like virtual bank, digital bank, challenger bank, neobanks. I want to explain this a bit differently because how I see the things it's different. What we built in Hong Kong it's a future operating model instead of a virtual bank with only a mobile app. So we built something that we want to use for the future, and it's becoming our future operating model. And under this operating model, there are a lot of different elements that we have to look at it. And technology is only one of them. I can share with you, take for example technology, because if we are talking about fintechs, startups, and everything, of course technology is important, and we built technology like for example, Mox Bank is one of the first fully entirely cloud native bank in Asia. And we built we didn't build a core banking system. Instead of that we built something like a product ledger. So there are a lot of things there, but the idea was always how can we bring a service-led bank into the market. I can give you an example. This is related with AML, FCC, onboarding, right? 2 years ago, when I talked to my people, the first thing, the first KPI, that I gave, to them was onboarding a customer in 3 minutes 46 seconds. So 3 minutes 46 seconds, onboarding a banking customer, giving the card real time and giving account and giving other features directly. It was a dream. What happened? I can share. Just 2 weeks ago, one of our customers, he onboarded himself in 2 minutes 47 seconds. So this is the reality. And instead of talking about these numbers, because for example, I couldn't onboard myself in 3 minutes, but there are some native digital users that they do this kind of things. But the most important thing is the changing the mentality and understanding the customer needs and delivering differently. Because when I look at all the reg tech, regulatory tech area, AML, FCC, onboarding, of course I can talk about technology. But instead of technology, you need to focus on what you want to solve it. So that's why we did it in Mox Bank. And of course under the operating model there are a lot of different things that we are talking. Being a service-led bank, it's also related with digitization. We always talk like okay, digitization, digital transformation, and digitalization. I can give you the difference between the digitization and digitalization. In banking, what we do most of the time we are doing digitalization. Digitalization means we are doing something like we are getting to the physical product and we are putting it onto a digital channel, and we believe that this is digital transformation. But digitization is a different thing that you are creating your services and the products from scratch entirely just for your digital customers, and you are not becoming a channel, you are becoming an operating model. I think this is the main difference that we have to understand, and we have to push it forward. Of course, in Hong Kong, we got our license 2018, 2019. We got our license. We are a licensed bank, and there were 8 licenses, and right now 7 of them are up and running, operating in the production and helping the customers in Hong Kong. There are a lot of players from mainland China, and they are coming a lot of technology power. And the same thing we saw it just last week in Singapore, as all you know that the MAS they announced the new virtual banking licenses. And this is going to be really an important trend that we have to understand. But again, getting the virtual banking license is not enough. We need to understand what's going on around this and how to build these future operating models. While we are building this in 530 days, of course we look at different things, and there's one important thing for us is partnership. Because what I believe without partnership it's really difficult to deliver a bank or run a bank and reach a scale immediately, or reach a scale or scale up quickly. So that's why we partner up with 3 JV partners: PCCW, Hong Kong Telecom, and Trip.com. As you know, PCCW, Hong Kong Telecom, they are the biggest Hong Kong telecom operator. Also they have a lot of different companies under PCCW group related with media, telco, and communication. Trip.com, they are one of the biggest digital travel operator globally, and they got a lot of customers. But in the model, what we try to achieve, because these guys are our JV partners, what we want to achieve, we want to achieve two important things. The first one, if you're a fintech, if you are in a startup, if you are in a small company that you are coming from scratch, that you need to find distribution channels. And these distribution channels, they can be physical, digital, different digital assets, but you need to port yourself as a company that you can reach the customers in a different way. So all PCCW, Hong Kong Telecom, and Trip.com, they have a lot of distribution channels. And honestly, when I look at their customer base, we can reach a lot of customers with the help of their distribution channels. Again, I don't want to say that this is kind of database marketing. No, it's all about building these channels in a different way. The second thing is, we always talk about banking. We have to touch the daily life of the customers. This is extremely important, but do we really touch the daily life of the customers? And honestly, money is always the most important thing, because banking is a vehicle, and then the money is there that people they save, spend, grow, and everything. And how we are going to touch that daily life of the customers with the money, it's the key and the critical thing. If you can understand how to touch there, that's a great thing. But as a bank, to touch there, it's a bit difficult sometimes. So that's why you need partner, and you need to build services with your partner together on top of the customer journeys. For example, travel. For example, mobiles. For example, the insurance. You need to understand the realities and the pain points there. And so that's why we have all these partners to create services together. I think partnership is one of the most critical one. And the other thing is, I want to share with you the people. I think without people, you cannot build anything. You cannot deliver this kind of things. One of the most important asset of Mox Bank right now, people and talent. What we are doing on talent side, we try to manage, and we try to hire with the way we call it Midas touch. Midas was an ancient god, and he was he had superpower, but at the same time he had something like a curse. When he touched something, it becomes gold. What we are looking from our people, from our talents, it's a very similar thing. They have to come to change the things and create a different value to the organization. Where they graduated, where they came from, it's not important for us. The most important thing is if they are coming to our organization with that Midas touch. I think that's the most important thing. The last thing I want to share with you is the hard share. Especially for the new organization, fintechs, I really want to recommend one thing, because you have to focus on profitability, you have to focus on growth and scale, but at the same time please don't forget the hard share, because if you start with market share, it's not going to be the right start for the fintechs. Hard share is the most important thing. If you can get the highest hard share of the customers, then the market share will always come. You need to understand that how you can get into the hard share. For example, Mox Bank in Hong Kong right now, after 2 months, we got 4.8 stars in App Store, 4.4 stars in Google Play, and there is no financial institution who has something similar, even close. And if you can create something like this, that with the right experience, with the right financial inclusion, then you are becoming you are getting the right hard share. And then you can jump to the market share, profitability, and scale up. So this is the groundwork. This is the fundamental. We have to always think about it. And the last piece that I want to share, because I'm talking in Cambodia right now, and I know that there are a lot of successful companies which they are pushing the digital payments, QR based payments. Of course, digital currencies are becoming also popular. And I think on top of all these things, we need to understand the customer behavior and what they want. For example, most of the time, I receive some the questions from the audience that Deniz, what do you think about digital currencies, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, payments? Let me explain this with one personal example. My son, he's 9 and he lives in another country, and we play video games, mobile games together almost every day to interact. And he plays, there's time difference between us, and he plays the games and he sent what he collected from there and to me. And then when I wake up in the morning, I play the game for 15 minutes and I send it back that currency to him. So imagine this guy, of course he's now 9, but when he turns to 18, this is going to be his normal. And we do most probably we won't need to explain what is digital currency, what is this kind of payment models, etc. This is going to be his normal. So that's why we have to expect there will be a lot of new things in the future. Why? Because people are changing and the customer behavior is changing, and we have to mind it very carefully. I would like to thank you to everyone there again. Thank you for listening me. If you have any questions, I will be on LinkedIn, or you can reach me directly. Thank you very much.